Welcome to the class. Today let us see other important concepts. The first one is stoichiometry. The elemental mass balance in a chemical reaction describing exactly how much oxidizer has to be supplied for complete combustion of certain amount of fuel, which means exact amount of air supplying for combustion for particular fuel, that is called stoichiometry. Here we are not supplying any excess air, or there is no deficiency of the air also. Here exactly we are supplying how much air required for complete combustion, that is known as stoichiometry. The other term is linear mixture or excess air. Here in the name itself it is there excess, which means if quantity of oxidizer means air, if quantity of oxidizer greater than stoichiometric quantity, that is called excess air, because stoichiometric means exact amount of air. If the quantity of air is greater than exact amount of air, obviously that will be excessive. Next one, rich mixture. Here quantity of oxidizer less than stoichiometric quantity, which means here deficiency of the air, quantity of air is less than the exact amount of air, so there will be deficiency of the air, that is called rich mixture. Percentage of excess air can be calculated by using this formula: actual air fuel ratio minus stoichiometric air fuel ratio divided by stoichiometric air fuel ratio. Now let us move to other concept, that is adiabatic flame temperature. In a combustion process, the final temperature attained under adiabatic condition is known as adiabatic flame temperature. Here there will be no shaft work, no kinetic energy, and no potential energy. These three terms are zero. So that is called adiabatic flame temperature. Generally, maximum flame temperature can be achieved with the stoichiometric mixture, which means exact air fuel ratio, exact air supplied to the fuel, there will be complete combustion which will give maximum flame temperature. Flue gas analysis. Flue gas means exhaust gases which come from after complete combustion. Now let us see weight of carbon in flue gases. We know that 1 kg of carbon produces 11/3 kg of carbon dioxide. This we already discussed in previous class. So this we can write it as 1 kg of carbon dioxide contain 3/11 kg of carbon. We also know that 1 kg of carbon produces 7/3 kg of carbon monoxide. This point also we already discussed in the last class. This line we can convert it as 1 kg of carbon monoxide will contain 3/7 kg of carbon. Now From these two statements, we can find the mass of carbon per kg of flue gases. That is, we can write it as 3 by 11 of CO2 plus 3 by 7 of carbon monoxide. So when we add these two, we can find the mass of carbon per kg of flue gas. We can also find mass of flue gases per kg of fuel burnt, which means when we burn the 1 kg of fuel, what will be the mass of the flue gas? That we can find by using this formula: mass of carbon in 1 kg of fuel divided by mass of carbon in 1 kg of flue gas. We can do flue gas analysis experimentally by RSAT apparatus. Here, as you can see in this figure, this is the RSAT apparatus setup. It will have three flasks: flask A, flask B, flask C. Flask A, it will have a caustic soda for absorbing carbon dioxide. Flask B, it will have a caustic soda and pyrogallic acid for absorbing the oxygen. And flask C, it will have a solution of suppressed chloride in chloric acid which absorbs carbon monoxide. So flask A absorbs carbon dioxide, flask B absorbs oxygen, flask C absorbs carbon monoxide. As you can see here, oedometer tube connected to the aspirated bottle with the help of the rubber tube. Here, aspirated bottle filled with the water. That water pushes the flue gas inside the oedometer tube. Actually, before conducting experiment, oedometer tube filled with the specific amount of the flue gases. So, because of this water, it will push up the flue gas from the oedometer tube, and that flue gas will enter into the A, B, C flasks. So when it passes through the flask A, it absorbs the carbon dioxide amount. When it passes through the flask B, it absorbs the oxygen. When it passes through the flask C, it absorbs the carbon monoxide. So finally, we can see the contraction in volume that enables the percentage of each gas present in the sample in the oedometer tube. So this is regarding RSAT apparatus, which is used for finding the flue gases in the combustion. Now let us move on to second unit, steam boilers. Now let us see what is boiler. Boiler is an enclosed pressure vessel where heat generated through the combustion of fuel is used for converting water into steam, which means here heat will be generated by combustion of fuel. That heat energy supplied to the water, then the water will convert it into the steam. That is the function of the boiler. But here, when water converted into steam, the volume of water increases 1600 times. But if you take the boiler, it is a control volume. Here volume is constant. So instead of increasing the volume, there will be increase in the pressure inside the boiler. Again I am repeating, boiler is a control volume. So here instead of increasing volume, there will be increase in the pressure inside the boiler. Requirements of a good boiler. The first point is minimum quantity of steam at required pressure, temperature and quality. Quality of the steam. It may be wet steam or superheated steam. Light in weight and compact, so that we can transport wherever we require. Safe in working with minimum joints. If the joints are minimum, there will be less losses, because generally losses will be there through the joints. Initial installation and maintenance cost should be low. Not only boiler, whatever we buy, that should be low cost and maintenance should be low. The next point is capable of quick start and should meet fluctuations in demand, which means sometimes we require high amount of steam, sometimes we require less amount of steam. So it should meet fluctuations in the demand. The next point is all parts should be accessible for inspection, so that if the all parts are accessible, so that we can easily repair the parts. If there is any problem, we can repair easily. The other point is minimum refractory material should be used. Boiler systems. We have several boiler systems. Let us see one by one. Water treatment system. We don't use tap water inside the boiler, because it will form a scaling on the surface of the boiler. So to avoid scaling, generally we use demineralization of water and make sure that that water should have electrical conductivity less than 5.0 Siemens per meter. That is used for feed water in the boiler. The other system is feed water system. Feed water is the water which goes to the boiler, but it does not go by its own. Here we have to use pump. That pump will pump the water into the boiler. The other system is steam system. Steam system means the steam is generated in the boiler. Most of the boilers generated steam. That steam stored inside the drum. Generally, half of the drum filled with water, the remaining drum will have steam. So we have to take out this water. Here we arrange a piping system. So through this pipe we take the steam that will be used for work. The other type of system is blow down system. It is a blow down valve provided at the bottom. For example, if we switch off the boiler, which means there will be no combustion. It will not generating any steam. So in that case, some water left inside the boiler. So that water will blow down through the blow down valve and will take out from the boiler. The other type of system is fuel supply system. As we know that fuel may be a solid or liquid. When we use liquid fuel, we have to use pump. That pump will pump the liquid to the furnace. Suppose if we use the solid fuel, we have to make several arrangements for supplying the solid fuel. The other type of system is air supply. As we know that for complete combustion, we have to supply the sufficient amount of air. So there are two ways of supplying air. We use natural draft or we use forced draft. By using these arrangements, we supply the air for combustion. The other type of system is flue gas. After combustion of the fuel, there will be flue gases. That flue gas will have some heat. So instead of sending to the out, that heat will be used for preheating the boiler. Before entering to the boiler, the water will be preheated by using the heat of the flue gas. So there will be heat exchanger between the flue gas and water. So for circulation of flue gases, there is a system in the boiler that is provided to flow the flue gases in the boiler. Now, classification of steam boilers. Based on orientation, type of firing, based on fuel, based on circulation of air, based on extent of air, and based on tube content, boilers are classified into several types. Now let us see one by one in detail. The first one is based on orientation. If the shell of the boiler, if it is in horizontal position, that is called horizontal boiler. If the shell is vertical, that is called vertical boiler. If the shell is in inclined position, that is called inclined boiler. So based on orientation, they divide into three types: vertical boiler, horizontal boiler, and inclined boiler. Now let us move to other classification, that is type of firing. Here two types: internally fired, externally fired, which means, for example, if you take the boiler, if combustion of the fuel takes place inside the boiler, that is called internally fired boiler. If the combustion of the fuel takes place outside the boiler, that is called externally fired boiler. Now the other type is based on fuel. As we know that for combustion we use different types of fuels: solid fuels, gaseous fuels, or liquid fuels. In majority of the boilers, mostly they use coal, or sometimes they use gas also. The fourth one is based on circulation of air. As we know that for complete combustion we require a sufficient amount of air. So that air we have to supply to the fuel. Oxygen inside the air will react with the fuel, then combustion will take place. So here two types are there: natural circulation of boiler and forced circulation of boiler. If the air is supplied naturally, that is called circulation of boiler. If the air is supplied forcibly, that is called forced circulation boiler. Here they use either blower or fan to force the air to the for supplying the air. So that is called forced circulation of boiler. The other type is extent of fire. Here two types are there: fired boiler, unfired boiler. In fired boiler, because of firing, the water will convert it into the steam. In case of unfired boiler, there will be no firing. Sometimes without firing, with the help of the flue gases, the water will convert it into steam. Again I am repeating, sometimes there will be no firing. Without firing, with the help of the flue gases, the water will convert it into steam in unfired flue gases, because flue gases have a heat energy. That energy is used for converting the water into steam in unfired boiler. The last one is cube of content. This is very important classification. Cube content. These are two types: water tube boiler and fire tube boiler. Again, in water tube boiler, several types are there. In fire tube boiler, several types are there. That we will discuss in coming classes. Now let us see what is the difference between water tube boiler and fire tube boiler. In water tube boiler, generally in boiler it will have a shell. So this is the shell. Inside the shell it will have a tubes. Let me draw with other color. So these are the, so this is one tube, so this is the other tube. Okay. Now in water tube boiler, the water will flow inside the tubes, and around the tubes inside the shell it is filled with the flue gases. Again I am repeating, in the shell there will be tubes. If the water flows inside the tubes and flue gases flows over the tubes, that means inside the shell, that is called water tube boilers. In case of fire tube boilers, here it is reverse. For example, this is the shell, so these are the tubes. In this case, the fire will flow inside the tubes, and outside the tubes it is partially filled with water, not fully with water, partially filled with water inside the shell. That type of boiler is called fire tube boiler. Okay, the main difference between water tube boiler and fire tube boiler is, if the water flows inside the tubes, that is called water tube boiler. If the fire flows without inside the tubes, that is called fire tube boilers. These are the major classification of steam boilers. With this I am stopping here. We will move on in the next class.